Hello and welcome to the One About Podcast, the show where we're one with the Force and the Force is one with us. This week we're discussing a side story from a galaxy far, far away. This is the one about Rogue One, a Star Wars story. I'm your host, Dean. I also go by EndlessCola in places around the internet, and I am joined this week, as always, by Awkward Romance Jordan and the sassy but deadly droid, John. What's going on, guys?
Hello. Oh, sassy but deadly. I like that. Yes.
Dude, I love that mute switch that you have. It's like, click, hello.
Oh, you can hear that. Oh, crap. I'm so sorry.
You definitely can. That's super funny, dude.
Oh, my God. Just want you to have your time to shine, not without any interruptions from my aviary backup singers over here.
So, what have you guys been up to this week? Don't everybody jump in at once.
Well, I don't know. I didn't usually I go first, and I feel like I like supersede what Jordan wants to say or like his thought process. But for me, it's just school with the boys, working from home, nothing spectacular. Gone to the beach a couple times, which was really fun, and started teaching them how to bodyboard. But other than that, it's just basically trying to keep them on task while they're in the house.
Yeah, I bought 3 PS4 PS2s this week.
Oh my god. Yeah. How overall, how was your haul? Because I already know I'm getting 2 controllers from you, which I'm very happy about. But overall, how do you feel?
I mean, I feel good. I got 2 perfect PS2s, a fat launch one and a silver slim one, and a grip of games that I love from my childhood. I actually bought a couple more yesterday when I was out thrifting. But I got what do I have now? I have a transparent blue, a transparent green, and 5 black OEM controllers, plus 2 wireless ones and a wired third-party one. So, plus there's a stack of 50 games that I don't want that I'm gonna sell off as well.
Oh, that's what's up. Have you tried out the wireless ones? Because they're third party, or they're right?
Yeah, they're third party. They work fine. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. They're wireless and they work.
Yeah, because this goes back to a discussion in one of our earlier podcasts. I tried them out, and their button input capture on the third party ones that I tried out was hot garbage. I don't know if it was the signal to the receiver and there was a lag, but I couldn't do power geyser movement for the life of me, and my thumbs remember that move they've been doing it their whole life. I could do that shit in my sleep and hit it at least 80% of the time. Never hit it, not once.
Yeah, I don't have a Street Fighter versus Capcom or what is it? Capcom versus SNK type game that I can try them out on. So I can't speak to that part. The only thing that I can tell you is that if I push X, it responds and it responds quickly.
See, no, not X.
But
I'm talking about input commands, man. Movement.
No, I understand what you're talking about, but
Yeah.
I'm just telling you, I don't have a game that I can test that on really. Although what I can tell you is I've been trying out the Street Fighter Anniversary Collection on PS4, and Street Fighter 1 can go to hell.
Yeah. I tried to do that because Kim got me that for my birthday. Nah, dude. I don't remember the games being that difficult. Well, first of all, I've never played Street Fighter 1 before, but I've heard stories and they're all true. That shit is bullshit to the max. But everything after that, I was like, oh yeah, I've played these games before. I should be fine. No, it is not true. That is arrogance personified.
Dude, Street Fighter 2 Champion Edition just beat my ass for an hour and a half, and I got to the third guy. I was like, screw this.
Was it worse? Was it worse than when we did, what was it? Was it Cyber Akuma? think it was Cyber Akuma. It was either
Bro,
Cyber Akuma or God Akuma
in
in
a
them.
lot of ways, it's the same thing, but the entire like story mode, like the
Oh no.
entire thing is like that. Like there'll be moments where like you can watch it happen in real time when you do something and the computer instantly responds with the perfect block, dodge, or counter attack, and you're just like, guy, come on, come on.
That's SNK AI right there. Like SNK games are notorious for that. For button reading, button input reading.
It's so ridiculous, dude. It'll just be like, all right, he's jumping in. Let me do a Shoryuken. Oh, he countered my Shoryuken with this move that perfectly gets around my hitbox and killed me.
It has the
Perfect.
the perfect frames to take advantage. Like it's so bad.
It's so fucking busted. And like the worst part is like the computer knows when I'm kind of on the ropes, and it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna like jump at you until you screw up and you die. Like, you son of a stop griefing, man. I've never been griefed by a computer before.
Mm,
Get good.
welcome to the Thunderdome.
Listen, Jordan, I'll be the first to admit that I'm not super good at Street Fighter. I just kind of enjoy playing them.
Hmm.
But like even I'm better than this would make it appear because like the computer just straight up cheats. Like I'm not, and like it sounds like I'm just kind of like making excuses or whatever, but like if you watch it, you know, like, and John knows, like the computer
Yeah,
straight up cheats. It's
yeah,
it it's a remnant of a bygone era of the arcade where it's just trying to eat your quarters. But there are no quarters anymore, man. Like I'm just
There's
laying in
only
my
hate
house
and
and getting
pain.
pissed off.
yeah. It's just pain and sorrow that it's collecting.
Um, and then also, dude, I've been watching Man in the High Castle. Dude, that show is great. Have either of you guys like seen that or like heard about it?
No, it's on my list, but like
I
it depends on like what time I can get to actually watch it. Like if it's like gory, violent, or has too many like steamy scenes in it, like if the boys are up, it's like nah, I can only watch like 1 to 2 episodes after 8 o'clock.
I mean, it depends. Do you consider Nazis beating a man to death to be too gory violent?
Yes, yes, I do.
Oh, oh, well, yeah, then it's probably not.
I watched
Yeah.
I watched the first 3 episodes and I stopped.
Why?
I don't actually remember why. I was watching it. I was watching with Lauren, and we just stopped watching it. I don't know. It's not that I didn't like it. I just stopped watching it. Like this was like 3 years ago.
You know what's interesting about that is like I have a similar thing, except I didn't even get to episode 3. Like I watched the first episode and I was like, man, that's really great. And I just never watched it again.
It's a game that ticks so many of my boxes, and I know I would love it. Game, sorry, I'm on Amazon right now. And like it just the page is open, and I'm looking at board games. That's why I said game. Anyway, it's a show that ticks so many of my boxes, but I just
Jordan is a
haven't
big fan
watched
of the
it. I
Nazi
don't know.
thing.
Yeah, I just get really
Mhm.
offended. You know, no, we can kill more Nazis,
More
more Nazi deaths.
Oh, well, in that case, maybe it's not the show for you because there's not a whole lot of Nazi killing. There's a whole lot of Nazis killing, but not Nazi killing. If you catch my drift.
Oh, I caught
Oh,
it.
I'm picking it up.
But I mean, it's a really compelling show. Like
Yeah,
it's
honestly, that show
it's
and Westworld are two shows that I know I would love, but I just haven't watched for some reason. And I heard Westworld kind of like falters in the second season or whatever, but I still think that I would really be into it.
bro. Westworld is a show that I started watching. I think during the final season of Game of Thrones because I was like, man, I'm paying for this HBO. I might as well try and like watch some
Yeah.
stuff.
Hmm.
And I just couldn't get into it. I was like, this show's just fucking weird, man.
I mean, that's the whole point of the show, but like I think Westworld's problem is it's trying to implant too many plot twists and subversive plot lines to where it's like when you rewatch it or when everything's finally revealed, it's like, aha! And they do that so much to where it's exhausting and like it actually takes away from the main plot of the story. Like,
Oh,
don't
you
get me
mean like
wrong.
Lost?
No. Yeah.
It's like
Yeah.
I don't want to say yes, but kind
But
of.
kind of like Lost just went off the fucking rails. But like Westworld is like, it's like, oh, we're a super intelligent show that you need to pay attention to every scene if you want to like figure out what's going on until the end, before the end comes. And then it gets exhausting when that's the whole point of the show every episode.
Mm,
It, like if you like miss one episode and like you see like a synopsis of the episode that you missed, like it's not going to help you. Like you have to watch everything from start to finish as a whole.
It's also bad if you're one of those casual watchers and you talk to someone who's a
Mm-hmm.
really big fan of like Westworld or something, and you're like, yeah, I don't know, I just couldn't get into it. Their like initial reaction is, well, you just don't get it, I guess. It's like, fuck
I hate
off. It's
that.
like, yeah, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever, dude. I don't want to take notes while watching this. Like sometimes I just want to turn off. Like I have to be in a mood to really watch a gripping, compelling narrative because it does, take more effort than just throwing on a sitcom or something like that, right? And I'm already like, my job is
sure.
just mental. That's all I do is just mental things all day. It's not I don't have a physical job, so I'm usually just want to turn off by the time I'm done working, if that ever happens. So watching those types of shows are getting more and more rare in my life. I used to only exclusively watch it. Like I was that person. Like, oh, you don't like Doctor Who? I guess you just don't understand it. It's fine. Some people just can't get into it. Not that Doctor Who is the most like complex and deep show, but like that's an example of just my attitude. But now I've come around to just fucking watch whatever you want to watch. If you enjoy it, you enjoy it.
That's
Yeah.
kind of how I've become about serialized storytelling in general. Like I've never been big on like TV shows and all that. Like I prefer to just sit down, watch a movie, and then move on with my life. But even when I do want to sit down and watch a show, I'm just like, how many episodes? 65, and how long are they? 40 minutes a piece? I don't know, man. That's like 35 hour. I just don't. Mm. And like that kind of time investment, especially now when I just don't have that kind of time anymore, is I'm just like I talk myself out of way more shows than not. But it's nice for Man in the High Castle because like it's something that I can sit down, watch an episode, get a full story out of that episode with some hanging plot threads, of course, and then just like walk away from it and come back tomorrow. And like I've been watching it when Ben takes a nap or late at night when I can't get to sleep or something, and it's been great. I finished the first season this week just doing that and love it. I love every second of it.
Yeah. There's a lot of those kind of shows on my list. And like I'm just like literally when I get time to myself, is like, how much time do I got? Maybe 30, 45 minutes. Can I get a show in? It's like, nah, because if it's good, I want to watch more and then I'll be upset. Like, nah, I don't want to do that to myself. So I literally just like fault myself for trying to get into a show and just don't do it until like I actually have like a good 2, 3 hours to myself.
There's also shows that I know I should watch. It's like
I know I should
the things that
watch.
I'm into. Yeah, well, so here's an example, like a show that is so culturally relevant to like my just like my neighborhood of people that I hang out with, like just my friends and the type of personality that I have, what I enjoy. There are certain shows that are like obvious home runs, and one of them is Breaking Bad. So I know Breaking Bad is an incredible show. I know if I watch it, I will look back upon this podcast and go, man, you're an idiot. You should have watched it sooner. Like I know exactly how I will be after I watch that show, and then after I watch Better Call Saul. I know it. I know the mindset. I know. I understand because I've been in that situation so many times, but I just can't do it. I can't. I can't hit the play button. I don't know why. I think about it like I go through Netflix and it's like, it's been on my recommended shows for 5 years now. I wonder if I should watch it. But I just can't hit play. I just really like I feel like it's just like just getting into something so huge. It's like, all right, I have to really commit myself to it, and I just haven't
You know
I
what the worst
haven't done
part of
that.
it is though? Like Breaking Bad is one of the shorter, like long form, really quality shows out there. Like
Yeah.
I think the first season is only like 7 episodes.
I mean, all of these are more reasons why I should just watch it. Like you're only gonna find reasons why I
Yeah,
Yeah,
should
it's
just
7
watch it,
episodes.
Yeah,
right?
what I've really noticed, especially about the current state of TV, cinema, and like broadcast, is back in the day. Like I think a little bit like before Breaking Bad was at its turning point. Like a season was 22 to 26 episodes of a show, and that's a lot to digest. And then it started gradually going to 13 13 to like 15 was the norm for a season, and then now it's like 10 to 8
Yeah.
like is a season. And like what I've noticed is like that increased the quality per episode because of that. But then I feel like there might be a little bit of exposition in certain shows that's missing out, or a little bit of plot that they could have delved further into that's missing out because of that new like syndication broadcast schedule. Like I feel like a lot of shows could get a lot of gain from just 2 more episodes. You know what I mean? Like they would have been like masterpieces, or at least like top tier shows, instead of like piles of dog shit.
What is nice though is you have like things like Netflix, which can make as many or as few episodes as they want. So
Yeah.
some shows like Ozark have 10 episodes a season. They always have 10 episodes. But they don't have to. They could have 3, they could have 4, they could have 12. I mean, it just doesn't matter.
I feel like a lot of shows have found that balance between episode quantity and actual um, like narrative complexity. So Mandalorian's a good example of that. 10 episodes, right? 10 episodes for Mandalorian. Um, and a lot happens. It's like there are only a few times where it's slowed down a little bit. They have a benefit where they're not trying to build a world, where they're not trying to explain everything, so they can just let you experience it. But I think writers are getting better. Episodes are getting longer too.
Mm-hmm.
So although we used to live in a world where you had 20, 24, 26 episodes, but they were like 20-minute episodes, right?
Hmm.
They were just meant for 30-minute blocks with 30% of the episode being ads, and that's what you got. So there was a lot of chaff. There was a lot of quote unquote character building that was happening, which was just useless, right? Because a well written moment can do what 3 episodes of old style quote unquote character development can do at the same time. It's just how well it's written and how well it's acted, I believe. So I think just everything is getting better. There's more higher quality TV shows out there now than ever before because there are just more competitive networks. Streaming services are making their own content. Netflix original series, there's a bunch of bangers there. Hulu's got some bangers. Amazon absolutely does. Now you have HBO probably going to make their own stuff. Disney Plus
Wait,
they already have
wait,
their own
hold on,
stuff.
hold on. Are you suggesting that because of HBO now, HBO is suddenly going to start making shows when they have some of the highest rated television shows of all time?
I phrased it incorrectly. So HBO has a significant amount of bangers as well. I mean like streaming only shows and not I guess HBO is weird because it's always been kind of a subscription based service.
Yeah.
But you know what I mean, like not made for cable, made for streaming. Which I'm sure they'll just port their existing projects over. I mean, HBO's always had really high quality
Oh
stuff.
man, HBO is like probably one of, like, if you had to choose a cable package and you didn't have HBO as part of that package, you fucked up. Like
I've
100%.
never had HBO.
You
I've
terrible
only ever
human
had it
being.
once.
Like,
The
dude.
the only time that I ever paid for HBO in my entire life was to watch Game of Thrones.
Wow.
So
Um,
I've never seen The
I think
Wire.
so.
I've
Me
never
too.
seen The
Oh my.
Sopranos.
Are
I've
you serious?
never
You've never seen them?
no. I did
Ditto.
when I had HBO Now, I did like start watching The Sopranos. I was like, "Oh, this is kind of interesting." And then my subscription lapsed and I didn't care enough to go back and
Yeah.
resubscribe for it, but no, I've
I
never seen any of that.
I feel like that's a mistake. Like The Wire, I think there's only like one season where it's not like gripping as hell and like you're like, holy shit. And then The Sopranos, I feel like The Sopranos is an acquired taste. Like it's kind of a slow burn. But if you like movies like Casino, like mobster type stuff, like you would love The Sopranos. Like after watching it, going through it fully. So
Yeah,
I
I'm
just,
sure I would. And
yeah.
like all the announced stuff for HBO, I'm like, man, that all sounds really good. They have a lot of DC stuff that they're really trying to push, and I just don't give a shit. But
Oh, I give a shit.
I I know you do. But like there's so many things that like I look at it, and on the one hand, I'm like, I would probably really enjoy that. But on the other hand, I'm kind of like, I just don't care enough to subscribe and watch it though.
Mm. In my opinion, I would take some time and like try one of the shows out. Like if I had to suggest one, The Wire would definitely be one. Like, have you ever watched The Shield?
No.
No.
God damn it. Okay, The Wire and The Shield. Uh, you guys need to watch those. Like, do you guys like procedural like cop dramas, like Law and Order type
Eh,
stuff?
not really.
I mean, I don't dislike them. I watch them when they're on, but I don't seek them out or anything. I don't really care.
Yeah. So The Wire and The Shield is like still relevant today, still holds up, and it's the best version of those type of shows because it shows the duplicity of the justice system and the people within it, and it shows it in such a great way. And then there's all this cat and mouse between like the cops and the people that they're trying to arrest or the people that are trying to arrest them, and I'm talking about the cops. And it's great television. The only problem I have with the Shield at this point in time is like its picture quality is just like ass. It's like basically like you've been playing PS4 games for like 2 or 3 years now, and you're used to like how good the graphics are, and then you like remember, man, this PS1 game was really good, and you start playing it, and then you see how horrible the graphics are. That's the only way I
There's
can really explain it.
Speaking of which, I started playing Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 1 and 2 remaster,
ooh.
remake, whatever they're calling this one. Um, and I was watching this video where this guy was like comparing it to the original PS1 graphics, and I was like, this seems like the most wildly unnecessary comparison of all time. like, to- like Tony's model looks like I don't know like a more PG way to say this, but like he looks like his head got bashed in or something, and his fingers are
Jesus.
all glued together because like the PlayStation couldn't handle multiple fingers and like all this shit. And then like the new one looks like Tony Hawk himself just like got digitized into the game. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, like it looks way better, dude. Like I don't know. On a side note, no, though, that remaster is fucking incredible.
Yeah, I've heard about it, and I honestly might pick it up just because they have the original soundtrack, probably like HD quality master, and like that soundtrack is the soundtrack to my childhood. Anytime any one of those songs comes on, it just instantly brings back memories of Tony Hawk.
Yup. I mean, it has so across both games, they're missing 3 songs, and the 3 songs that are missing were 3 songs that I was like, "I don't care."
Yeah.
So and they added a whole bunch of new ones too,
Oh, that's
and
awesome.
but my favorite part about the soundtrack is that you can go into the options, be like, "I like that song, never play that song, never play that song, perfect, perfect, skip, 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 skip," and just choose whatever you want to hear if there's songs that you don't like. Or if you wanted to be a purist and be like, "This wasn't on the original soundtrack, don't ever play these," do that too.
I was looking at the gameplay for it, and it's got that same arcadey, like fast skateboarding gameplay that the originals had, where it's not so much realistic, but it's just fun, right?
It feels exactly how I remember the original games playing, like,
Awesome.
and I'm sure that part of that is just, like, rose-colored glasses, right? But it feels perfect, and that's I guess at the end of the day, whether or not it's accurate doesn't really matter if it feels right, and it definitely
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
nails those little things. Like, I went through and I did all the levels on Tony Hawk 1 and 2 and did all the challenges and everything, so, I'm like, if I was playing the original game, I would've beaten both games completely. Um, they added a whole bunch of new stuff in this one, so you can, like, unlock, aesthetic stuff, and there's a ton of challenges that you can do, and trophy support, and all that kinda good stuff. But there was one level that I didn't like, and I remember not really liking it in the original Tony Hawk either, but, like, it was dude, I was so mad at this level trying to do these challenges that they've implemented into the game because it's a downhill level. So everything that you do is slightly tilted to like move you down. And so all my moves got messed up and like all this shit. And I'm like, an hour and a half and still not done with this damn downhill. But beyond that, like everything has been perfect.
Ooh.
So good. I think I'm gonna try and platinum that game, but the list looks very hard.
Is hard because like difficult to pull off, or just a lot of trophies?
Like some of them are very difficult. Like you have
Okay.
to basically do everything there is to do in the game, and I've run out of the easier trophies. like there's some trophies in there where you have to like do a combo that's worth 10 million points and like do insane 25, 30 moves in a single combo without using grind, like all this crazy stuff. And then beyond that, even there is um a couple of trophies in there, like spending 10,000 bucks in the aesthetic shop that they have, or getting to level 100. Like I did every challenge and everything in the game as it was originally intended, plus the things that they added to the main levels, and
Mhm.
I'm only level like 46, and you have to get to 100. like I don't. But they also added like online play, so you can play with a bunch of you can play like horse and things like that with other people online, which is pretty cool. But they added trophies to that, so fast.
Yeah. How does horse work on online play? Do you have to do the exact same moves that they did, or just like the same point total?
I think you have to copy their move. So,
Oh,
like, if you do a kickflip, you just do a kickflip, but if I did, like, a 900 into a kickflip into a ollie 360 no scope, get good noob, you have to do all of that.
nah. Like that seems super atrocious, and like I would have to watch like someone do that online to even like comprehend like if that would be even fun or not. You'd have to memorize all the moves. No, no, I'm already exhausted. No.
I mean, the good thing, though, is, like, for somebody like me who really only cares about playing that for the trophies, all you have to do is give, 50 letters to somebody over the course of your entire playtime, so it's like, even if you're bad, it's probably not that hard to do. So, Jordan, did you want to say anything? Because you just kind of like been in the background of this conversation the whole time.
No, I wanted to let you guys shine. I
Oh,
said
good.
last.
thank you.
I'll just kick you out of the show, and then we'll continue that.
So I said last week that I was planning on beating Ghost of Tsushima. I'm happy to report that I did,
I'm proud of you.
and it was incredible. And I platinumed it. That's my first ever platinum. And yeah, I look forward to the multiplayer release because, man, I beat it on lethal as well. So I did as everything, literally as much as I could. I didn't get all the banners because they don't. There's no list of the banners that you're missing, so I would have to go to every location and go, did I get this? Okay, I did. All right, next. And it would just take way too long. So that was incredible. I highly recommend that to anyone that has the ability to play it. I don't care who you are or the age.
I don't care, but it's just not for. I don't care.
No, I don't care. So yeah, that's pretty much what I've been doing. Getting back into Red Dead 2. I'm on the final chapter. I got to beat it. I've just been playing it for like 8 months now, and I had Final Fantasy VII Remake carve out time for me to play it, and then Ghost of Tsushima also carved out my Red Dead time. So I got to go back and beat it finally. Hopefully, I'll do it this weekend. I got a few days off because of Labor Day,
Oh
and
yeah.
playing Red Dead Online as well. That shit show. You can tell where Rockstar's money's going. You know, like their development money's going. It's obviously not Red Dead Online. So, but I got some friends that are kind of into it, and it's a little fun to do certain things, but it's pretty shallow of an experience. So we'll see how long until I burn out on that. That's pretty much it.
Well, fortunately, we all somehow managed to watch a movie this week.
Yeah.
Down to the 0 hour. I was up until like 1:30 last night. I actually fast forwarded through some of the, like, I don't need to see you do this. Like, I've watched this movie at least not 6 times. I'm exaggerating. I think this is my 5th time watching it.
Bro, is this
So
gonna be like when you were super familiar with Thousand Year Door, and then you're like, I don't remember that. I don't remember that. Did that happen? Really?
no, that this is an hour and 42 hour, movie, not a 40-hour game. So I think I can remember and keep it in my mind. But I have notes. I always have notes.
I guess we'll find out. So the first question is always, what'd you guys think of this one?
Oh, it's so good. It's one of my
Yeah?
favorite Star Wars movies. Oh, my list got rocked because of this.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Just shook its foundations to the core.
Yep. I love this.
I
I love this movie.
Yeah, it's really good. It was way better than I first remembered because, like, the first time I watched this movie, I fell asleep.
I'm sorry, what?
The first time I watched this movie, I fell asleep and woke up during the final, like the last stand portion.
You're like,
Oh.
oh, they
So
lost.
so Jordan, it's just you and me now because John is no longer allowed to be
Damn.
on this.
Okay, all right. I'm sorry.
I'll be 100% honest with you guys. Like, this was the one movie in all of these that I remembered pretty well, and I loved this movie when I saw it in the theaters, and
Mhm.
I in retrospect, it was also the movie that was most primed to be the most disappointing to me. And to that end, like, I like it considerably less on this viewing than I did in the past.
All right, so I guess it's just me. I guess I'll take this. I'll take this episode. All right.
Have fun. I'll see you guys later.
Elaborate.
Nah.
It's great content. You want to talk about it? No.
Not really. I just want to keep that to myself. So there's a few things that kind of shook me on this one. Like, first of all, the first couple of times that I watched it, I didn't watch it with the context of those first 6 movies back to back to back like we've done. And I mean, like, we didn't watch them back to back, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And so, like, going back to the aesthetic and the feel of the original trilogy was really fresh and interesting to me at that time, especially after episode 7, which I was so fucking mad about. This time, though, like, I was watching it, I was like, all right. I mean, like, yeah, it's kind of like the original trilogy. Like, they've got a lot of the aesthetic choices right. It doesn't quite feel like the original trilogy, though. And it doesn't have that novelty factor that kind of boosted it up for me before. On top of that, this time I'm watching it with a more critical eye, and there's a lot of things that stood out to me where I was like, really? Or what? Or that's what we're going with? So, like, there was just like a lot of little things that stood out to me. I would say the biggest thing that stood out to me, and you guys can tell me if I'm crazy about this,
Mhm.
because I was fighting with like trying to put the baby to sleep while I'm watching this movie and like a couple other things. So I might have just been distracted and missed it. But it felt like to me when we get to that scene and Cassian is looking through the sniper rifle
Mhm.
at Galen, that moment where he's hesitant to complete the mission and he like tries to call them off for Jin's sake and all this shit, it didn't feel earned to me. Like, it just kind of felt like it came out of nowhere, like he just had a sudden change of heart.
Um, yes, I think I can agree with that, especially because our introduction to him is him shooting the guy that gave him the info in the back.
Exactly. That was exactly the point I was gonna bring up, 'cause,
Yeah.
like, that's the first thing that we see about Cassian is that he's willing to just shoot somebody who helps them to, like, fill in, um, to what loose ends, to tie up those loose ends. And then, like, an hour later, he's like, "Well, I mean, she's kinda cute, though, so, like, maybe." I'm like, "What
Ugh.
the fuck are you taught?" Bro, don't tell me you didn't w watch that movie with, like, the subtext that Cassian's kinda like, "Well, I mean, she's
It was
kinda."
so I
You
think
gonna smang it?
it was incredibly subtle, and the only reason that I think that you would believe it is because the very end. But I mean, maybe they were trying to put like a subtle little hint of affection there or a connection, but eh, it didn't jump out at me. Really, what they should have done was have the shot unmakeable for some reason, like have his head behind that pillar. Like he was already so close behind that pillar when he was zooming in with his scope. Like just put his head behind the pillar and make it to where he can't literally take the shot for whatever reason. He can't reposition, and then he sees Jin sneak up, and then he's like, "Oh, damn it! I can't take it now." That would have been probably a little more
Actually, like, to me,
accurate.
what would have worked better is if they had swapped the scene that came a little bit after that with that one, so that Jin has this, like, touching speech in front of the entire Rebel Alliance that moves him and those other guys to, like, join her over the council or whatever, and then that happens. Then he gets sent on that mission, and he's thinking about that, and he's like, "You know what? She's right. This isn't right." And, like, has that change of heart. Like, that would have been a more earned change for me as opposed to him just randomly being like, "Maybe I shouldn't just shoot this guy."
I mean, I don't think it was necessarily random, but it was definitely slightly jarring. That I would say is definitely one of my biggest ones with the movie is that transition.
The quote unquote, and I say quote unquote because I'm not sure if this is what they were going for, but this is kind of how I read it, of this like awkward romance between those two characters. I was like, this is just kind of weird.
I didn't see a
Doesn't
romance. I didn't get any hint of a romance at all throughout the entire film, outside maybe the very end when they held hands, but they're on at that point. I felt like that was just a human thing to do because they're just kind of accepting their fate at that point. I didn't really see a romance.
Yeah, like I'm not implying that this is episode 2 all over again, but
Don't
like
do that.
Ooh.
Nah.
but like there's like some kind of, and maybe to be fair, maybe it's like all coming from Cassian towards Jin, but
Yeah.
like there's still some kind of tension between them the whole time, which kind of boils over in that last scene that you're talking about. And I don't know, it just didn't really work for me. But all that being said, I want to back up all the way to the beginning of this movie
Zzz.
because the first thing that stuck out to me is there's no opening crawl
Yay.
and the regular Star Wars theme is absent.
Yay. Two
Dude.
things I love. Two things I love that they do with the non-primary line of movies. It really sets itself, like, especially this one, because this was the first movie to not be a part of the canonical series. They make it seem like you're about to get hit with that scroll and that banger theme, right? But then it just like it cuts away, and then it has that scene with the ship flying to their planet that they're on. I don't know the first planet's location. I don't know, but I liked it a lot. I actually love that they did that, and they do it in Solo as well. And they kind of do the same thing in Mandalorian also, like the way they started at Mandalorian, I think. But I can't really remember how that one starts
I
exactly.
actually don't remember that either.
Yeah, I don't
I would
remember.
have
But
to check it.
I hope that they do that from now on. Like, no more scrolls, no more Star Wars theme. That was only for the base 9. Now we're doing something different, right? Set it apart.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd
I
be down.
agree with that exact, like the exact sentiment. Like the opening scroll is like cool. It sets itself apart from other movies, but like you have to like dissect through all this information, and then like they just shoot you into the movie. Like and like as we've talked about in prior episodes, like most of the time the opening crawl excites more confusion and anger than actual like disseminating information to whoever's watching it. Like anything
Yeah.
digestible that would actually help with the movie and its storyline and plot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
it's very Star Wars, right? It's the original 9. That's what sets it apart. When you start the movie, you know you're watching, and that Solo. What do they call the whole trilogy? The
The
Skywalker.
Skywalker
So
saga.
yeah, the Skywalkers. Like, you're watching one of those. So everything else should be different. Like, even with their new movies that they're coming out about around the High Republic and stuff, they should not have scrolls included with that. It should be something completely different.
Yeah.
I, I don't know about that, but like I will say, just as a random aside, calling all 9 of the numbered films the Skywalker saga is like insultingly inaccurate at best when you include the
Yeah.
sequels.
Yep, I agree.
Yeah.
But nevertheless,
What is your name? Ray. Ray Skywalker.
fucking not. Stop it.
Oh, just wait.
So did anybody else for the first time while watching this movie think to yourself, how is there air here when they go to like that city that's jammed between 2 asteroids or whatever it is?
Yeah.
There's just people walking around with like nothing on. I'm like, how are they breathing? Is air not a thing in Star Wars?
No, there's a force field that keeps all the air inside there, man. What are you talking about? It's totally explainable. You don't even really need to
Duh.
think about it. Stop being stupid.
And I mean, like
Jeez.
that might be the excuse. All to be fair, but like since they never tell us anything, I'm like, I don't know about that.
Yeah.
It's a similar scenario. Like, I thought about this at the end of the movie when Vader's looking at Leia's ship as it leaves um, the Alliance cruiser, right? And he's standing over like in the bay where it released, and it's just open space. So
Yeah.
unless there's like some force field or something that perfectly, like, I don't know, protects that area after the ship leaves or something, he would have been sucked out and into space, no problem. But you don't watch Star Wars because you want to, have perfect fidelity with physics and everything. You just watch it for fun, right?
I mean, in all fairness, Vader's like locked up in that fucking suit of his, so like it's somewhat believable that he would be able to breathe.
Breathing is not my problem. Getting ripped into space because you're being pulled into a vacuum, that's my problem.
Yeah.
And he had two other, like, all right, maybe he's using the force to protect himself or whatever. That's a real long shot. But he had two idiot stormtroopers behind him just standing there. So at the very least, their dumbasses are getting sucked out into space.
But if they already released the airlock when the ship left, what would be the discrepancy in pressure that would suck them out anywhere?
Because that scene is him walking down the hallway to the actual, like, bay where the ship was, and then it shows him just like opening up the door and walking out into the bay as the ship is leaving underneath the actual capital ship. So there's no sealant, there's no, I don't know, it just feels like it feels like he's just walking out like you were just going to send off a plane or something that's in an atmosphere. It doesn't seem like he's walking out into a vacuum or anything.
I guess that's fair,
It
although the
just
way they shot that scene, it kind of, like you were saying, it's almost like there's a hallway to where they eject the ships, which, in my opinion, would have voided out the the pressure discrepancy when the ship left. Although, even if that were the case, then they would have been sucked out when that happened. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Unless there is some kind of super advanced like gravity simulation thing going on in these ships that like bolts them to the floor, for lack of a better way to put it. We're, we're getting really hung
sure.
up on this for no reason.
I mean,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, okay, whatever. It's
You're
not worth
fine.
talk. It's not even worth
It's
talking about, right?
okay. It's
It just
okay.
It's really
works.
not like
It just
this is one of those things
works.
where you just let it go, man.
Yeah, I
You
just
just
enjoy
gotta
it.
let it go, or like you're not gonna enjoy the movie whatsoever.
I will say it was really great to see the classic stormtroopers return. That made me very happy.
Yep, a lot of stormtrooper variants, a lot of them in this movie,
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
including right in the beginning. You see those Death Troopers. Ooh, they look so good.
There was a moment in that game though where I was like, why are there helmets like that? Like the guys who are like driving and like shooting the laser out of the Death Star and shit. I'm like, why are why do they have this like big fucking thing coming out of the back and the front of the helmet? Like what purpose does this
Oh,
serve?
um, because
Oh,
I
oh
like
yeah, I
that.
yeah,
forgot
Yeah,
about
yeah.
because.
A lot of
That's
people
a
I
good
don't.
like
point.
that.
A
It's a
lot of
very
people don't
poignant
don't.
point you made right there.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you just have to consider because. I think that's why.
Yeah,
I thought
yeah, that's
I
fair.
thought it was more jarring when Jin was wearing the actual outfit, and you see her eyes and like the little slit, and it just it makes it even more unpractical because when they have the visor down, you don't, I don't know, like it's almost like you just see them as the suit. You don't see them as a human inside of the suit. So you
Yeah.
don't think about it, but when Jin was wearing that exact helmet and everything, you're like, how the hell is this a thing? How is this practical at all?
Speaking of which, was anybody else like watching that? Like, what the fuck are those sticks on the back of that suit? Those like batons that she uses? Like, is she those swords? Like, what's about to go down? And then nothing ever comes of it. Like, they never do anything with it.
She uses the no, they're batons. She uses them when they go to Jeddah. She uses them briefly against the stormtroopers when they're in that hallway.
Oh, does she? I don't remember
Yeah,
that.
yeah. I think they're only used maybe once or twice in the movie, but they are two batons that she fights with.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Seems sketchy, but I'll allow it.
Thank you, Judge Dean.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Objection, because.
Phoenix Wright.
So I think that one of the main things that this movie nailed, and up until this movie, we've been devoid of it. And I didn't
Hmm.
realize how devoid of it that we were until I watched this movie for the first time, and then watching it more and more, we've seen a little more in subsequent Star Wars movies since and Solo and in Mandalorian, but the aesthetics of this movie are incredible. The scenes are beautiful. Like in Jeddah, just pausing scenes and looking around and seeing all the detail that they put into everything. In Galen, in that first scene, Galen's farmhouse, all the little blue milk on the table, little knickknacks everywhere. Everything is just so Star Wars and so classic Star Wars that it feels warm and cozy. And that was one of the reasons Rogue One struck me so hard when I first saw it, is because like, oh my god, I didn't realize how much I missed this up until this point, because episode 7 doesn't really give that to you a lot. There are some certain scenes where episode 7 has some beautiful aesthetics and they kind of nail that Star Wars vibe, but the sequel trilogy is pretty unique in its own. This one really felt like home. This one really felt like something that you're familiar with, and it just gave your eyes so much to look at. Every single scene there was something just so incredible to look at. I don't know. Like that's always been one of my favorite things about this movie, is the actual sets themselves.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. Like, um, it feels like a modern telling of an original trilogy story. It's very
Hmm.
cool and very. Speaking of the aesthetics, though, you know that like that cool ass grass on that first planet where we meet like Jin and Galen and them,
Yeah.
the kind of grass that they have in Ghost of Tsushima. Actually, when you're like right on the horse, and he like leans down and puts his hand in the grass and all that.
Ooh.
Um, I found out yesterday that they actually have that grass all the way up I-4 up here.
So I should just pull off the side of the road and start running my fingers through that grass.
Just touching it real nice
Hide,
and gentle,
duck down
smelling
in
it.
there and hide, wait for somebody to come by and
just wait for a cop to check it out. Like, what's going on here? Throw a wind chime.
what the fuck is this? Just
What the
a
hell? Is that a firecracker? What's going on? He starts taking his baton out and moving it through the grass. And just, what the hell's going on
what the
here?
hell is this, a rubber kunai? What the couldn't buy a real one, okay?
Where'd that come from?
But yeah, it's just something that struck me yesterday when I was watching this. Um One thing that I did find interesting though is like the suggested progression of the power of the Death Star. Because like that first time that they fire it on Jeddah, it like
Hmm.
only destroys the city and it's super slow and shit. So they can like take time to realize that it's happened and then kind of, oh, we should probably get out of here and then fly away and then like
Well,
put in the coordinates to jump to warp speed.
so it's not that it's super slow. So they nailed that scene. That's like one of the things that they really did right. It's not slow. It's the explosion is hundreds and hundreds of kilometers long. So you're seeing it move as fast as you really would in real life, because it's such a massive freaking explosion. They zoom out, and you have this like Final Fantasy VII Neo Bahamut type explosion going on. I really believe that's how you would experience it in real life. I think that's exactly what it would look like. It's the same concept where I don't know, like I used to talk about this with my friends about how Gundams move so quickly and stuff, but really they're so large they wouldn't move that quickly. They would to us they would move a lot slower, but they would still be
Slow as
moving.
molasses.
Yeah, like the arm, like if they go to punch or something, or like Power Rangers, like their Megazord or something, it moves. Of course, it's a human in a cardboard box suit, but
What?
sorry to ruin that for anybody, but
My immersion is ruined.
in real life, they would be punching at a very high velocity, but the distances they're traveling are so vast that it would look kind of slow to us on the ground in our experience. And I think this explosion was spot on. And I loved that when they were doing the tests of the Death Star. It's something I never thought about before this movie. Is, hey, you don't have to blow up a whole planet, because every Star Wars movie is just like, yeah, we got to blow up a whole planet. Of course, we're blowing up a whole planet. That's the only thing the only thing this gun does. It goes from 0 to 100. There is no 50% power.
Mm-hmm.
Or unless in Episode 7, it's like, yeah, of course we're going to blow up 5 planets. So it was really cool to see them actually do a test fire, and then we have that beautiful cinematic explosion of Jeddah being destroyed and then them escaping it. It was so damn cool. I can't hate on
It
that
was
scene.
good. Yeah, it was really good. It's just like it does seem like they get their rocks off like blowing up planets, like they're just touching it while they press the button. Like it's something euphoric.
So, I did want to touch on the characters a little bit here because this is another area where I kind of have the issue. So, characters like Saw Gerrera,
Mm-hmm.
specifically,
Yeah.
he's kind of cool, like aesthetically and shit. And like the way that we get introduced to him is kind of neat and all this kind of stuff. But like
Yeah.
also, I was there the whole movie, like, who the fuck is this? Like, why does everybody give a shit about Saw Gerrera specifically? I don't feel like they ever really explained to me why he's actually significant.
They didn't, and he's like just shrouded in mystery. Like the only reason he was significant is like evidently he's got a message from Jin's father.
Yeah, but
Like,
like
and
somebody
that's
else
it.
delivered that to him. So like
Yeah,
that wasn't even.
So
wasn't
his
even significant
significance.
enough.
So his significance is that he was actually originally a part of the rebel forces, and you actually see him in Fallen Order too. You don't see a lot of him in Fallen Order, but you see him back when he was a part of the original rebel fleet, and he wasn't like, he didn't split off or a splinter away from them. So he had a band of rebels that he was a commander for. They were unhappy with the direction that the Rebel Alliance was taking, and you can kind of see like their, like their board meeting. They weren't all in agreement. They were arguing amongst each other. Akbar's race were ride or die from the beginning. I loved that, but he just wasn't happy with their direction, so he broke off. He took a band of rebels, but they were radicalized, and the initial Rebel Alliance felt like Saw Gerrera just made them look bad. So there's rebels, and they were fighting for a good cause, but Saw Gerrera, I think they were more of like terrorists. They were doing significant damage to the image of the Rebel Alliance. They were instilling fear. They were doing everything that they can to kill the Empire, regardless of how it made them look. They were extremists, and the Rebel Alliance, now they were losing. This is towards the end of the war, right before Episode 4. They were losing. They were desperate, and they needed more forces. And they said in a one quick line that they need to bring Saw back into the fold. They actually need his forces now to make any type of stand against the Empire, because they were already on a losing streak. So
Yeah,
the whole reason Jin was ever involved is because her and Saw have a big history, and the only way that the Rebel Alliance was going to get an in with to open communications with Saw, because they've cut off communication and exiled him, is if they brought Jin in and had Jin talk to him. That's pretty much the entire thing. That's why.
yeah.
I don't know why they couldn't send someone else, or why there was no other no other way to have some kind of open communication. They don't explain any of it, but it's just they need her because they're friends, and she can soften Saw up to talk with the Rebel Alliance and join back to their forces. That's pretty much all we get.
Well, it's good to know that they haven't abandoned the old Star Wars trope of not telling us a goddamn thing.
Yeah, I
They only
mean,
they only give you broad stroke concepts with that kind of stuff. They don't go into specifics as to why he's radicalized or the terrible things that he may have done which hurt the rebels, um, the rebels' image to the rest of the galaxy. They just say he has done these things.
yeah. And I agree. Like, I remember that scene where he was all like talking to Jen and was like, "Oh, have they sent you here to kill me?" And she was like, "No, they sent me here because maybe I'm the only person that you would actually talk to and consider helping if I came here and talked."
Yeah.
Yeah, kind of a pretty desperate move, but
Yeah,
I think at that point they were extremely desperate. And I felt like those tensions carried over into. I'm trying to remember the Alliance mindset in Episode 4, because at this point nothing would have changed. They would have been equally as desperate. Um, I think it was kind of like that. Um, I don't know. I really can't speak to it.
So, when does this movie actually happen?
Uh, Directly, like, I don't know, like days or weeks before Episode 4. It's
Probably not. Probably not even that, right?
yeah,
Because the
not
last
even
scene of
that.
the movie. But the reason I ask that is because there's a line in this movie where Cassian says that he's been part of the resistance since he was 6 years old.
Mm-hmm.
The problem with that is that he's 26, and episode 3 ended 19 years before episode 4. So who the fuck was he fighting?
Uh,
Like, you can't call yourself a resistance warrior because you didn't want to like take out the trash for your mom or something. It's just not how this shit
I've been fighting the war against my stepdad for 20 years.
works. Guy's not my real dad.
God, my real dad buys me cigarettes. He's cool.
cigarettes.
I don't know. I mean, I picked up on that. I didn't do the math, so I just assumed, okay, he's from a war torn, history. Maybe I don't know. When did Order 66 happen? Because you could say that was the real start of the subjugation, and
Okay,
I
so
think it
let's
was
see.
19 years or something until I don't know. I can't remember the timeline now.
Wikipedia. I like it.
Takes place in 0 BBY. And then
Huh?
if we look up,
Oh, before. Okay, yeah. It's like 19 BBY or something.
happens.
32 BBY.
So if that timeline were accurate, then I guess, but like calling yourself a rebel against, I mean, like against what? Like the empire is created literally at the end of episode 3. Like
Um,
it's one of the last scenes in that movie.
I mean, Palpatine still had control of the army throughout all of episode six, throughout all of Order 66 and even before that. So maybe there were things going on where he lived, where the Empire or the clones at that time invaded and subjugated the area. I don't know. It's one of those things that we just have to kind of accept that whatever his history is. And maybe
Yeah.
they'll flesh him out. I mean, maybe they'll flesh him out in other games because there's a lot of room there to give him a story. And Cassian's not a bad character. He's he's pretty good. Jin's not a bad character necessarily, so they have some room to flesh them out. Maybe in either video games like a Fallen Order 2 or something. We could see Cassian, not Jin probably, but see something of him. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't get something Maybe there's already comics out there that are about Cassian or Jin.
I don't think maybe Jin, but I don't think Cass.
I feel like I'd rather have a Cassian backstory than a Jin backstory, because I feel like Jin's backstory
It's pretty
would just be
self-explanatory. It's not.
like, I feel like she would just be like, she was with Saw until she was like a preteen, and then afterwards she just had like a shitty life living as a thiever, and I don't know, just doing underhanded things. Like, there's probably some good stories in there, but I think Cassian's rise from, his from 6 years old, whatever happened to him, up until him joining the rebellion and being just so calculated and cold, seeing how he got to that point, taking
I don't
orders directly to kill Jin, shooting the guy in the back in the beginning of the movie.
I don't know, man. Like I kind of feel like who gives a shit about these characters?
I mean,
Like
if
I don't
they
think
never, I don't care if they ever flesh him out. Just they have an opportunity.
that's the point though, right? Like you don't even care if they ever flesh them out because who cares? Who cares? Like none of them are particularly bad characters, but are you actually like hoping that they come out with a Saw Gerrera? Well, maybe Saw Gerrera.
Yes,
He might actually be the
Maybe.
I want
best one.
Yeah.
I
But
want
like
more
everybody
Saw.
like are you really like clamoring for a Cassian story or a Chirrut? Well, maybe Chirrut's a bad example
Yeah,
too because
Chirrut
I
and Baze.
like that could be a great buddy cop like story or but like but Galen Urso, like probably not. Jin, probably not. Cassian, probably not. K2SO, probably not. I mean, like, he's kind of interesting, but like I feel like you could explain away all of K2's interesting stories in like 5 minutes. So probably
They're all
Yeah.
fine just being isolated to this movie. I wouldn't require anything else. They've already done the legwork and they've put Saw Gerrera in Fallen Order. So they've already expanded him slightly. I would like a little more from him, though. I would like to know his character, mostly because I love Forrest Whitaker and I love how he acted Saw Gerrera in this movie. It's like his character is both intimidating and then sometimes super memeable and hilarious,
not.
right? Just because how he talks, he emphasizes the breathing problem and just like the lines that he says. He doesn't have many lines, but he nails it. I love Saw Gerrera's character.
Yeah, Saw is pretty good, but I'm still kind of like I just don't really know that Saw or any of these characters are going to carry any other stories by themselves, you know?
No,
No,
definitely
not
not. Like it would have to be
Except
like an offshoot series or something like that.
except maybe a story where you have like C3PO and K2SO hanging out. Like that's a story I would be interested to check out cuz
What, they go
they're
on
like
missions together with
or,
R2D2
or
rolling around with
something.
them?
I don't know, something. Like K2SO is like C3PO but like more murderous. Otherwise, they're very similar.
I mean, K2SO is a hell of a lot wittier than C3PO. Like C3PO is just kind of, airheaded and like, oh no. Like K2SO is like, do you want to know the chances that she'll use that gun against you? They're high. They're really high. Just he's like he that's some of the best Star Wars humor that they've put in movies is K2SO. Like I think that they nailed that humor. It's just enough of it. It's not overbearing. It's not like, hey, this scene is the K2SO power hour. We're gonna shoot off some bangers. Like they come in at really, really good and well timed moments.
Yeah. I really think that K2SO is the best character in this movie, which kind of saying a lot because he doesn't have a lot of screen time, all things
Yeah,
considered. But
but less is more when it comes to certain things like that, especially like with humor, like instilled in such a supposedly gripping story that's more of suspense. Like, are they going to get the plans? Like, are they going to succeed in their mission? And you just have like these little bits of humor just specked in there.
I think that he's very compelling because that was the first time that you've seen a droid. Oh, hold on, let me really think about this. That I feel like that was the wittiest droid that we've seen in a Star Wars movie, specifically movie, not video games. Other video games have similar characters, but in an actual main movie, I think he was like the best one up to that point.
Maybe R2D2, but since we don't understand what he says half the time, we're not super sure.
Yeah,
I
I mean he, you don't
I
know
will
what
say
he's saying.
this, like I wrote here in my notes, by far and away the saddest I've ever been for a droid when K2 went down, dude. Like he's the one guy that you were like, oh man, I knew you were all
Hope
gonna
he
die, but like
survives.
can't
Yeah.
the evil droid become an evil droid again and just like kill those damn rebels or something? All he wants to do is murder.
I think my favorite character. I mean, I love Jin. I love Cassian. I think the whole cast has their moments and they're really great. But director Krennic was super compelling. I thought that he was acted very well. I thought his lines were really powerful, and they do a really good job of showing an imperial director or an imperial commander like work his whole life to realize a dream to just get completely stepped on by Tarkin. You know, you stand here amidst my achievements. I love that line.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Tarkin's like, well, no, you've proven that you've proven your inadequacies, and he tells him about Edu and the breach, and then he goes and he has some compelling dialogue, and he makes some pretty murderous choices there at Edu and kills all the other scientists. And the freaking exchange between Krennic and Darth Vader, I love it. I know this is a really big contention for a lot of people, but I thought they nailed Vader.
Don't choke on your ambition.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I thought they nailed it.
I thought it was good except for the fact like instead of revealing him like they did after the first reveal where it was just like opening the bay doors and then you see the shadow of his uniform, it's like I know who that is. Like instead of revealing him like that, first they revealed him like coming out of a cum bath, and like I didn't appreciate that. This is like supposedly the most imposing antagonist of this war, and like he's just like rejuvenating his skin in a cum bath. I mean, I've heard
Oh, give me the bukkake.
like I've heard about remedies
God.
about for your facial skin using this kind of stuff, but Jesus, he took it to heart. But that's what I mean. Is like if they would have like taken that scene out, especially like since Karkin like basically kneels and it says gives you an idea of who he is before he's revealed. Like it kind of takes away from that because like nobody really expected him to be in Rogue One, and like it took away from the excitement and like the surprise of it by his like, oh, who's he kneeling to, and then like all the juices flow off his body. And I was like, oh, that's basically Darth Vader. Like he's a torn up dude. It's not the Emperor. There's nobody else he'd be talking to.
So, speaking of all this, like Jordan, you reminded me. How did you guys feel about what they did with Tarkin, and to a lesser extent Leia, but more Tarkin?
I mean, he looked acceptable, but it's jarring. Like I felt like Leia was way better. Like until she started talking. When they first panned over to her, she looked almost perfect. But then when
Yeah.
she started to move, then you're like, okay, this is clearly CG. But you only see so little of her, and it's not really impactful. Tarkin, they did the best that they could, I guess. The voice actor was incredible, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was spot on Tarkin. Like that was 100% Tarkin. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe there's a better way to do it. I'm okay with it. I mean, I'm okay with it. John?
Uh, I mean, it wasn't bad, but it wasn't good enough to where I just wasn't like, oh, holy shit, that's CGI, and they planted that in. Like if only they had the technology that they did for when they did Robert Downey Jr. in Avengers Endgame, like where they made him look like decrepit and on death's door and malnourished. I actually thought that Robert Downey Jr. did like a weight loss for those scenes. That's how good it was.
Bro, it was so good. I just learned right now that it was CG.
Yeah, it was last night. Yeah, it
I
was
didn't
last
even
night.
know.
I was watching it with the boys and Kim, and like, I like being like a know-it-all, like I was, and she's like, "Oh, dude, how did he get like that?" I was like, "Oh, dude, he totally like did like a weight loss, and like they did the scenes before, like all the other scenes, and then they did the scene after when he did his weight loss, so he wouldn't have to gain all the weight back and the muscle mass." And she just like spoke into Google, "How did Tony Stark lose all that weight?" And it's like, this was done with CG. I was like, well, I feel like a dumbass.
I thought it was practical. Like I thought it was just like
Yeah,
they was shot really well with practical effects. I didn't realize it was CG at all.
You know what the worst part about that is, though? Both that movie and this movie had VFX done by ILM. Like it's the same VFX crew. Like,
They got
and
better.
yet, and yet, although I feel like that's a conversation that we've had multiple times already. Like,
yeah,
They
I
keep
almost
rearing
feel
their
like
ugly head.
we've been watching the evolution of ILM as we've gone through these damn movies.
exactly. And like, it's just amazing to where like the level we become, and like super crazy at like what they thought was like acceptable. It was like I would have thought of any other way. Like have someone in a Tarkin mask and just do that. Like it's fine. Like that might have been better or less jarring. It's like at least you're like, oh, they tried.
They just get some little dude to jump into a Tarkin animatronic practical effects like he's a droid and start mouthing him like a puppet.
I think every scene could have been done with Tarkin remotely interacting with Krennic or with like his back turned or something, you know, like
Or like a hologram. Like
the,
just speak
every
via
scene
hologram.
every scene but one of them. And I think that this is the one scene where they were like, we really want this scene, but there's no way that we can pull it off without doing some CGI Tarkin. And that was when Tarkin took control of the Death Star after the first demonstration. When they had face to face dialogue, when he clearly stole the project from Krennic. Like they're like, we really want this to happen. We want to show how cutthroat and ruthless Tarkin is. I'll do anything to get ahead, and we need this scene. But they're like, we can't. It wouldn't be the same if it was just like Krennic talking to Tarkin, but you have it shot from the back of Tarkin, and you hear Tarkin. Like, there's no way that you could have shot that I think that would have been better. Now, I say this, there's no way I feel it could have been done. Of course, there's probably some way that, I'm going to get actually'd by a film nerd that's like, actually, they could have done this, and I'll agree with you. But, I mean, at first pass, I can't think of a better way to do that without a CGI Tarkin.
Mm.
I don't know. That's just how I feel. Like, they storyboarded it, and they're like, well, we really want this scene, but we have to have face-to-face dialogue between them. Like there's just too much going on here. We can't hide that Tarkin doesn't exist. You know, like we need something.
I will say I didn't get the impression that it was like Tarkin stealing it out from under him and doing whatever it took to get ahead. Like the points that Tarkin make are totally valid. Like
Yeah.
this dude let somebody cooperate with the rebels and build a fundamental flaw straight into the Death Star right under his nose.
So they don't know about the flaw. All they
No,
know
I know
is
that, but
that.
like even the points that he even makes in that back and forth are valid enough. Like he's
Yeah.
clearly not on top of it.
So from Krennic's perspective, the breach has been filled. Was destroying Jeddah. That's where Saw Gerrera was. That's where his forces were. That's where the pilot was delivering his information. They knew all of this, and they thought breach has been filled. It was Tarkin that had his own investigation going on in the background that Krennic didn't know about, and it was Tarkin that said, "Actually, we found
Actually,
actually we found
No.
that the information came from Edu, and that's where your Imperial engineers and scientists are. That was the first time Krennic had heard about it. So Tarkin's a mastermind.
But that's the problem, dude.
He knew to pull that trap card out right there to significantly undermine him.
You've activated my bottomless trap hole.
Oh my god!
Damn it, Yu-Gi-Oh!
But that's literally the point, though, man. The fact that Tarkin knows that and he doesn't, and he's in charge of it, is my point. There shouldn't be any alternate investigation that Tarkin can do that unearths fucking world-shattering information for this guy when he's in charge. That's the problem.
Yeah.
I mean,
exactly.
I still think that through the context of the scene, it was obvious that Krennic felt like he had. I mean, he birthed this project from beginning to end. He instilled the scientists and the engineers to make it happen. It was his, and Tarkin exploited this to just take over the ship after he saw a successful demonstration. Because we can assume from the scene that if that was not a successful demonstration, because Tarkin wanted him to fail, he's like, he told Krennic, he's like, the Vader and the Emperor sent me here, or no, I think he said that he thought Vader and the Empire shouldn't be there to save him from his failures or something, because Tarkin just assumed he was going to fail, which I don't know how you can build a Death Star and just be okay with someone failing. That would be the stupidest thing in the world. Like, you can't fail if you're going to build a moon-sized death planet. Like, there is no option for failure.
Yeah.
But he was there ready to watch it not work or watch it fail, and then probably still take over the base. He's like, okay, you're clearly a failure. I'm taking over the project. Bye. But then he also found a way. Like, he came in ready with, all right, well, if it fails, I'm going to take over the project. And if it succeeds, I'm going to drop this Edu bomb on Krennic and embarrass him in front of all these other commanders around me and take over anyway. Like, Tarkin had an end game.
No, I think that's all accurate.
Yeah.
My point is just that, like, the way that he did it shouldn't have existed in the first place. Like, he was a failure for not knowing about that and sealing up that gap, because that's his job. And so the fact that Tarkin was able to even do that is his failing, and he kind of had it coming, even though, like you said, like, he did build this from its infancy and create the Death Star project, all this kind of shit. Like, yes, I'm sure that he felt like he got robbed, but like, if you're a miserable failure who's feeding these secrets to the Rebel Alliance, the Empire's going to snuff your ass out.
So, I mean, yeah, you're right. And the Empire is ruthless. The commanders and the Moffs and the admirals, they're going to do whatever they can to get ahead. So Tarkin's going to exploit it. I mean, at that time, the perspective of Krennic was, the only secret that got out was that the Death Star exists. That's all that was, like, that's all that they knew was leaked. The existence of a machine or a device that could destroy a planet, not its vulnerability, not any plans around it. Like, because they had to go separately afterwards to Scarif. Galen had to tell Jyn to go to Scarif and get the plans and deliver them to the actual rebellion. So Krennic's only mistake was allowing the leak of its existence, and that's it. So I think
his only mistake, bro, can you imagine if somebody up in Washington was like, well, my only mistake was letting this highly classified information leak to the public.
Yeah.
I know, but
that's a pretty big fucking mistake.
They literally get labeled with treason at that point.
I give Krennic the benefit of the doubt here, because there are millions of people working on this project, and this is the only leak up to this point. Like, that's incredible. Like,
depending on the product that you're manufacturing, or like what its purpose is going to be, leaking of that information could be detrimental and totally kill it from actually being activated, to be honest with you, depending on the circumstances around it.
Definitely, but it's done at this point. It is done. Like,
the fact that it was done at that point, it's less detrimental that it came out, but still, it's pretty big.
To be fair to you, Jordan, you're right. Like, it is incredible that this one guy's overlooking like these millions of people and this didn't leak out. It's almost as incredible as one guy leading the separatist movement all by himself and gathering up multiple star systems.
No,
God damn it.
no,
Jesus Christ.
no. I don't even want to hear it.
Let's not pick at that scab.
I don't even want to hear
Let's
it.
not pick at that scab. Let's not do that.
I still haven't. No, dude, I still haven't healed from that at all. That's an open sore. It needs a new bandage. I'm not ready to talk about that.
Fucking shit. I was gonna say, like, there was one character while we're talking about characters that kind of annoyed me, if that makes sense. And it was I think, let me see if I like don't butcher his name. Chirrut, the guy played by Donnie Yen.
Yeah.
Because
he's one with the Force, and the Force is one with him.
Yeah.
God, like,
absolutely.
dude, every 3 seconds, I've never heard the Force talked about so much. Like, throughout all the trilogies, I've never heard it talked about so much. But every 3 seconds that dude talked, every time any word came out of his mouth, Force was attached to it. And I'm just like, I haven't heard Jedis have so much faith in the Force, and you're just all over it, just slobbing its knob. Like, Jesus Christ.
In this entire series, we've never even come close to a Jedi who's like, okay, they're blasting everything around here. I'm just going to walk out there with no protection at all as a blind man.
Yep.
And the Force will protect me. It'll be fine.
Yeah, and it's like, oh yeah, does he have the look of a killer? And I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, the dark side of the Force, blah, blah, blah. I was like, what? How do you even, you're blind? I don't, okay. And then, like, Homeboy is about to take him out, and he's like, no patience, my friend. The Force will show us the way. I was like, Jesus Christ, did you stop? Could you stop?
Did you know that there's a Force around us all?
Oh, God. It was the worst. I don't know why they were peddling Force, what's the word, propaganda with that guy throughout the whole thing. And I was just like, is it because there was no actual Jedi characters in this movie we needed to, like, talk about the Force, you know, other than Darth Vader? But, like, it was in my opinion very unnecessary. Like, they could have, like, had him basically show that he was a faith-based or had a lot of hope that everything would work right, and just seemed like, you know, more mysterious. And then, like, at the end, it's like, oh, he was talking about the Force and how he trusts and how it guides him, instead of just heavy-handed, like, whole fisting it down our throats. You know what I mean?
Chirrut's the kind of guy that's going to knock on your front door and they go, did you know the Force is one with us?
Dude, seriously,
do you have a moment to talk about our Lord and Savior, the Force?
The Force?
I just imagined him on his bike at my front door with his nice little tie and everything, and his Force Bible ready to go. Yeah, that's another thing. It's like, have you ever noticed, like, none of those guys are ever sweating? No matter how hot it is outside, they are never sweating. I've never seen one sweat.
I've seen the opposite. Like, I've seen them just drenched. Like, I've seen them. I actually know someone who went on a mission trip to a different state and did that for 3 years.
Why?
So, like, I talked to them about the experience and everything, and they're like, yeah, man, you go through so many white dress shirts, it's unreal. He's like, you're just constantly drenched.
Is that what's in their backpacks? Is just white dress shirts? Nothing else? Just white dress shirts? Maybe some water, but definitely white dress shirts.
Plenty of Bibles, plenty of white dress shirts, and a little bit of Gatorade.
All the pamphlets. No, you got to keep the pamphlets in a separate pocket because all your drenched white shirts will ruin them.
Wait, hold on. I got to pack some extra faith in here.
Yep.
God.
Get that in.
So I wasn't really bothered by Chirrut that much because it gave us an entirely different perspective of someone who believes in the Force. So you have Jedis who actively manipulate and use the Force because they have high midichlorian counts, of course, barring they haven't lost any limbs.
Jesus.
But this gave us a different perspective of, this is a monk guarding an ancient, or a monk who previously guarded an ancient Jedi temple, and although they weren't Jedi, they were still monks. That saying is his mantra, you know, like monks have different mantras. That's one of his mantras that he uses to pray and to focus himself. So I thought it was unique. He says it a lot, definitely, but I thought it was cool to get a different perspective on how other religions or how other non-Jedi or non-Sith view and interact with the Force. I thought it was kind of cool.
Well, that's what I mean. It's just like it just seemed like he was like an avid follower and worshiper of the Force, even though he technically didn't use it that I could see. Like it was more like his heightened senses from being blind, that old trope. But like it just seemed weird to me. Like, yeah, you can say it's like a contrast of how like in all like basically all the other movies, like people see the Force and like Jedi's as stories of folklore and legends that can never be proven and like weren't really real. And I don't know if that was due to the Senate's propaganda after they did Order 66. But like to have someone so just enveloped in like believing that the Force will guide you on the right path and like it's all or nothing and it's all within the Force, like, dude.
So these faiths didn't come because of an absence of Jedi. Like, Jedi temples have been around for thousands of years up to this point, right? And there's just there's just these monks that guard these ancient Jedi temples, like we have in real life. We have monks that guard old Buddhist temples or old temples just in general. Maybe not necessarily Buddha, but different types of temples. And although maybe these monks don't train to become Jedi, or maybe they just have different maybe they worship or they focus on a more ancient use of the Force. I don't know. You can go wildly anywhere with this kind of stuff, right? It's just
Mm-hmm.
he's a monk. He's following an ancient tradition, and he's been extradited he's been displaced. Better way to put it, because the Empire now is on Kidu, siphoning the kyber crystals and destroying the Jedi temples that were there. I thought that shot was really cool when they panned out from the desert and you see this giant Jedi statue that's been weather worn and destroyed, and you see the saber kind of broken out from itself. That was kind of cool relic stuff like that I love in this movie, all feeding back into the beautiful aesthetic.
Yeah, and a side note, like I will say, like he hits the crap out of stormtroopers with his staff when he's fighting, to where you just see pieces of their armor just flying. I was like, Jesus, the forearm strength on that guy. No, I was gonna talk about how like the ATTs, like damn, the one that Luke and them took down with the cable
Yeah.
on the snowy planet. So that's shown during in the Rogue One battle, and like one dude shoots a missile at it, and it's basically like looks back at him, like not taking any damage, is like bitch, and then X wings just shoot it in its neck and it explodes, and I'm just like, did they get tougher as time progressed, or like
Well,
X wings were better?
on Hoth, they didn't have X-wings; they only had snow speeders. So we can assume that we can assume the firepower of an X-wing is significantly greater than a snow speeder.
Okay, all right.
Although the snow speeder had the laser cannons in front of it, they did try to use the laser cannons on the AT-ATs in Episode 5, and they made a point to say that they can't break those shells.
Okay.
So they weren't powerful enough. But we can assume that at this point the X-wing's firepower is sufficient to take them out.
Yeah, I was wondering if I was misremembering anything, because like the X-wing made that shit like look like it was made out of paper mache.
I thought it was cool that the U-wing. No, I think it was the U-wing was flying, and someone was shooting an ion cannon out the side of it, and they shot one of the legs of the AT-AT, and somehow an ion cannon made the leg break apart. I don't know how that works, but it was cool to see. It was just cool to see, like they were colored differently. Like these coastal AT-ATs had like a yellow strip on the side, and you can see they were kind of a little like had like some salt wear on them, like, so if you live near a beach, you see things get affected by the salty air, and these AT-ATs kind of had a little bit of that. It was just really cool.
I was interested to learn in this movie that Star Destroyers are not protected against other Star Destroyers just randomly running into
God.
them. So
Thank you for bringing it up, because that is the single greatest Star Wars space scene ever of all the movies.
That's just categorically wrong,
Nope.
because the best space scene in Star Wars happens at the end of this movie.
No, so I mean like just in general spaceship battles, like space battles, not overall
But
space scene.
but what about the classic that we're gonna watch next week when they jump into hyperspace and go straight through the? No, no,
Oh,
no.
I actually kind of like how that looks, but only on an aesthetic level and nothing else. It looks cool.
Yeah,
Like it's a cool scene. It's really watching it in the theaters. It's really powerful because it just goes completely silent. Um,
but conceptually, like you can't enjoy that the fact that that exists.
they ruin. Actually, I did make a point of that. Later Star Wars movies ruins Lightspeed. Like
Kind of.
they between episode 8 and really it starts at episode 7, but in the sequel trilogy, for some reason, they were just like, let's take all these classic things that they did and just ramp them up to 11. Oh, and let's ruin them all the way too. So they did use the light speed to get out of that initial explosion on Kidu. So when that when that like freaking planet crust is like about to envelop them, it's fully come over like crust tidal wave. They use light speed to punch out from there, but
Yeah,
that's a kind of a little more of a realistic way to use it, maybe, but still kind of wild. In the later Star Wars movies, just go, we're gonna use some light speed skipping and go planet to planet like a bunch of jackasses, but we're not gonna talk about it, and just whatever. Um,
Or even in this movie, when they're trying to escape the plane, like, I haven't put in my coordinates for the light speed yet. Too bad. Whee!
yeah,
just go anywhere in the universe. We might end up in a planet. Let's go.
I thought that was the beginning of the end of the abuse of light speed, but I thought even that by itself, if that's how bad it ever got, then that would have been acceptable. But later movies just run freaking wild with it.
Of
Yeah,
course
'cause,
they
I mean,
do.
at least that is a desperate situation in which you're like, we stay here, we're dead, so we're gonna try it.
So
Just gotta
I
do it.
I want to talk about that scene though, with between the two star destroyers crashing into each other. That scene is incredible, dude. It looks so good. That's beautiful CGI. I thought that was so awesome.
I mean, it's two Star Destroyers running into each other. What
Stop
more
it.
do you have to say?
Stop it. It
I'm
was
not
so cool.
I'm not knocking it. Like, it's a cool little scene, but like, what else is there to say? Like,
Yeah, it just
it's
looked
just two
beautiful. Yeah,
spaceships crashing into each other.
Like they brought up a
they call
really
it
good
docking.
they brought up a really good point around, like space warfare like that. Like, well, what happens if these massive objects crash into each other? It's like, well, let's go ahead and disable one of them and ram it into the other using the freaking hammerhead. Like that's such a smart idea that Star Wars hasn't explored up until that point, and it's just a really really cool scene. It just looks, I don't know, like, that shocked me the first time I saw it. I was like, oh, that's such a great idea. It's the CGI on it is really really well done. I mean, there's hundreds of thousands of different particle effects that are happening as it's tearing up the main bay and ripping the top of the other star destroyer away. It is just really really incredible. I don't know. I love it so much. I really do love it.
Yeah, the
I've
one thing
noticed.
that the one thing that I actually noticed and like really appreciated, and like goes back to your other statement, Jordan, about like how this movie is very aesthetically pleasing. The battle, like their final stand to get the information about the Death Star, their battle on that planet on like a tropical beachhead to where it's like so well lit was gorgeous. Like it was really beautiful because of the fact like most battles that we've seen in the Star Wars is like in like dimly lit places, it's really
Mm-hmm.
dark or in a spaceship. So you really can't see like the movements, the fire, like people dropping like on that beachhead, it like that battle was amazing. It looked really good. Like you can see everything really clear and vibrantly and like seeing like how the battle turned and like their positions like it was really well done in my opinion, and like it would have been lost if it was like in a darkly lit place or in like a space station like they usually have. I noticed they brighten things up a bit in this movie.
Yeah, they
For
pick
sure.
a lot of really unique locations. Speaking of locations, the locations, man, there's a lot of location switches in this movie. And it's one of the first Star Wars movies that does almost overwhelm you with how often it switches between planets.
To the point where it has to tell you where you are.
Yeah.
I think this is the first. I don't know if episode seven might have done it, but I actually prefer that. I think that's a great decision, and every space movie that does that kind of stuff should let the person know where they are and at what location that they're moving to. I like the text, but it's a lot, and the pacing is weird because you skip between like 5 or 6 different planets. But literally the last third of the movie, almost maybe it's closer to like 25%. The last quarter is just on Scarif. So the majority of the first half and bleeding into the second half of the movie, you're bouncing around between different planets every 15 or so minutes, maybe even less, and then you're on one place for the remainder of the movie. So it's just kind of I thought that was a little weird, but it didn't really take me out of it.
I definitely thought it was a bit weird. You're right about that.
Yeah.
A lot of movement, a lot of jumping around. I mean, I can go on about how much I love this movie ever.
Yeah, like, but that's the thing. Like, the scene where Chariot like literally is saying his mantra and just walking out in the middle of fire when a previous rebel soldier is like, "I'm going for it," running and just gets shot immediately. I don't know. This is what I mean.
That's just I mean, that's just how they're like, okay, he's a monk. Up until this point, we've kind of made fun of his, him trying to be Force adept and him praying to the Force and trying to channel it using the mantra. Now we're going to show what can be done, right? Like this is the Force incarnate. He's not actively using the Force. He's passively experiencing it. He's letting it guide him.
Nah, screw that, dude. Like, he needs to go get a lottery ticket if he's gonna do some crap like that and not get hit at all. Like, he doesn't even get shot at the end of it. He gets hit as a byproduct of them blowing up the terminal that he was at, that he turned on the power.
Well, in his defense, he had Baze and that badass machine gun behind him.
Baze wasn't even shooting the machine gun. He was yelling for him to come back.
Yeah, but he's one with the Force, and the Force is one with him. And Baze's
Shut
moral
up.
support was
No, shut up. The worst part is, like, he doesn't even have like a very like either ominous or like poignant last words. He's just saying the mantra still. God.
My favorite part was after he dies, Baze starts saying it, but he says it backwards the whole time.
Yeah.
I was like, it actually kind of annoyed the shit out of me. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? You've heard him say this like 600,000 times and you can't get it right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, and then also I like the fact like Cassian and Jin, while everybody was like basically fighting and like dying for this mission, they're playing the most high stakes game of grab claw to get the data. That shit looked cool. I would try and win some stuffed animals playing that shit.
So I'm just gonna bring this up. Like, did anybody else think that Vader looked and sounded weird in this movie?
Look wise, not really. I mean, his suit definitely had cleaner aesthetics to it. Like,
Yeah, like he was missing his gold chain.
yeah, but sound wise, I think he sounded the same. Did they use James Earl Jones's voice?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but like to me, he sounded older.
Yes,
and I don't mean
I
don't mean like James Earl Jones was like a kid in episode 4 and now he's an adult. I mean, like, he sounds like he's getting on in age.
And also the audio quality was a lot better. So it stood out, like the audio mixing of that was different, and it definitely stood out. It wasn't a negative for me, but it was definitely different. Now, you mentioned, does he look different? I thought Vader's eyes actually looked different in certain shots.
God damn it. I'm so glad you brought it up. Why can I still see his eyes, dude? I can see his eyes through the mask.
Could you
It's
actually
been
see his
40
eyes?
fucking yes. When he's on that ship after they boarded, like you can see his eyes. I was like, "Are you fucking?" It's been 40
Really?
years and you can't tint out his eyes.
I just thought that the actual eyes looked redder than I'm used to them looking. I don't remember actually seeing his eyes.
Yeah,
I gotta
there's
find
a
a
scene
screenshot
where
now.
he like turns to the side and the light shines directly onto his face and you can see him through. I'm like, come on, guys. Just make this man blind inside the mask and guide him with like hand signals. I don't know. Like whatever you got to do, don't let me see his fucking eyes through the mask.
There's no way to have. There's a way to have like two-way vision between that crap where we can't see in there, but they can see us.
Like a two-way
That doesn't
mirror.
make sense. Yeah, they should have done that.
I mean, literally anything other than what we got. Like, it bothers me so much at this point. Like, I can't unsee it anymore. Every time I see Vader, I'm like, do I see his eyes? Okay. All right. The tint is
They got a nice hint of blue in those bad boys. I like that.
in. Speaking of Vader, though, I'm just going to jump into it. That last scene when he boards the ship is the most badass scene in all of Star Wars.
Yeah,
Straight up.
It's shockingly amazing. I mean, that's the ruthless Vader we've always wanted up until that point.
yeah, and like it, and honestly, we didn't get, in my opinion, it didn't seem like we got much of it even in the original trilogy. But like that scene embodies what we felt Vader is capable of, and like why he was so feared. And in my opinion, they should have had Karnak. They should have had him just only talk to him like via like messages or whatever. Yeah, I know I butchered the name. And then revealed Vader in the movie just from that scene. And that was it. That would have been like, holy shit.
Yeah, I mean that would have been really impactful. I thought that they did a really great job with Vader as a whole. I mean, just busting through that door. People were just panicking, trying to fire. He takes all their guns, throws them up on the ceiling. He sabers through the guy and through the door, and then busts open the door. I mean, it's just like he is an unstoppable force. It's like the end of Fallen Order, which both of you should play and beat.
Are you going to pay
Definitely.
for it? Because then I'm down.
I thought you already owned it.
No. If I owned it, I would have played it.
Oh, well, find it on sale. It's worth playing. It absolutely is.
Find it on sale. This guy's gonna not paying for anybody's games, but you need to buy it.
I don't know. All right. Well, maybe for your birthday,
Aww.
which is quite a way away, I think.
Only like 8 months from now. That's cool.
Yeah, there you go. I think by then I'll be able to get it for like $25. It's perfect for me.
You cheap bastard.
Yeah, I think I've said just about all that I needed to say. I mean, I love the movie.
Oh, well then you're gonna be in the back seat just listening for a little while. So, did anybody else notice the Black Saber Project Black Saber when they were going through the archives?
How could I not bring this up? There are so many of those code names that are critical like points to future movies. And yes, Black Saber, I definitely wanted to bring that up.
Like
that was awesome.
That's fucking rad, dude.
And honestly, I didn't catch that until this playthrough. This watch. I've seen the movie like 4 other times, and I've somehow just missed that. I don't know what I was doing those other 4 times, but there was a couple. There was Black Saber. There were hyperspace tracking, which is something that they do in Episode 8. I'm sure the other ones, I didn't note down the others, but I'm sure the others are all something related to something Star Wars, or all Easter eggs to something else.
I assume so, although none of the other ones stood out to me either. So, was anybody else? You guys gotta tell me, am I stupid? Or was anybody else blown away by the revelation that the Death Star can travel through hyperspace?
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense, but like seeing it in actions, like what?
I'm the same way. I'm the same way, John. I was like, I guess I always knew it was a thing, but I just never thought about it until they brought it
Yeah.
up.
Like
Just randomly.
I just assume that it's just like this big moon fucking thing slowly galloping through space to wherever
Yeah.
it's going.
Like,
It's like its only flaw is it's gonna take 3 years to get to your planet. You got time.
yeah. That's being conservative.
Yeah, seriously. Where is this? The Outer Rim? Oh, Jesus. Send the newbies. I don't want to go on a 15-year excursion over there to blow up one planet.
I love
Exactly.
I love the shot that when it actually did make the trip to Scarif, you see it rising in the horizon as Krennic is on the platform looking up at it, and it shoots and it goes through the atmosphere, specifically takes out the radar dish, and then like blasts the ocean near them. I'm like, why didn't you just shoot the base? Like, why'd you have to just take out the radar dish and then like fire like 100 kilometers away? I don't know if they just missed or what the purpose of that was.
Yeah, I don't know either. Although, speaking of dishes, it was kind of cool to see them like putting the Death Star's like weapon dish or whatever that thing is into the base itself. Like that was kind of cool to see them actually do that.
Oh, and for some reason, I thought it was cool to see the Death Star upside down. Because I guess another thing I never thought about. I'm like, oh yeah, space. There is no up or down. I'm like, so of course you would have a perspective of seeing the dish up, like just on the bottom of the Death Star. So like seeing it float through space like that too in that one brief shot, I was like, oh, that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
A little different.
Yeah.
What?
Oh my god. I
What
just
we?
rewatched the
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry, I just rewatched the scene where like Vader goes in and just destroys all those rebels trying to get the plans out. And like if my like one of my major qualms of the movie is like they could have just revealed like alluded that Vader's in the movie throughout the whole movie, and then that part like it was just dark, and then you just see a red lightsaber beam lighted up and you see him. That is just, I feel it's a missed opportunity for like a better, more impactful moment that in my opinion would have made the movie that much better. Because like yes, it's supposed to tie into the original trilogies, and like it's supposed to be like, the fan service is like, oh my god, there's that person, or oh my god, that's where Princess Leia was all this time, or what she was doing. But that, and they just alluded to the fact and like made it seem like there was nobody from the original trilogy that was going to be there, and then showed him like that, I would have crapped my pants and like spewed jizz everywhere.
100%, dude. Like if they had like, because they had that one throwaway line where they allude to Leia earlier in the movie
Mm-hmm.
too. If
Mm-hmm.
they hadn't said anything and she just showed up, like that was already a pretty good scene.
Yeah.
That one throwaway line you might have forgotten about, but like if they didn't have that line, like that would be fucking incredible. Because then you'd be like, oh my god, yeah, that would be how it happened.
Yeah, that ties
And
in. That's really great.
and the same for Vader. Like as cool as it was to have him talk shit to Krennic, I don't really think that Krennic needed to be shit on anymore. Like they could have
Yeah.
they
Assuming
could have
that-
cut all
Really?
of Vader's previous scenes and just had him show up
Exactly.
at that boarding party.
Like they showed him way too much. Like the Krennic scene, yeah, I guess it was cool, but they could have done that over like a hologram or a message and to be like, oh yeah, like Vader's somewhere in the galaxy and he's talking to Krennic and like telling him how much he's fucking up.
Do you think that scene, assuming the scene was mandatory, they had to do the scene? Do you think that it would have made more sense for him to talk to the Emperor, or was Vader a good choice?
It would
Vader's
have
the
made
obvious choice.
it is the obvious choice because he's more iconic than the Emperor when it comes to Star Wars. But in my opinion, it would have made more sense for him to talk to the Emperor.
Oh, you're super wrong, dude. I said it was the obvious choice because the Emperor clearly doesn't get his hands dirty with shit like that. He ain't got time for that.
True, you're all right about that. You're all right, but again, go back to my previous statement to where it would have been better if he just talked to Darth Vader via like hologram or like holo message or over telecommunications or whatever, where you don't see his face, but like Vader's a part of it, or he knows what's going on to a certain extent, and that's why in the beginning of A New Hope that he's chasing Leia and the rebels because it's so important that they got a hold of this information and he has to find them. And
What are
that's
you
his
talking about,
motivation.
man? All that was leaked out was the fact that the base exists. It's not that big a deal. Who cares?
At that point, no. At that point, they knew they actually stole plans for it, but they didn't know that they
Yeah.
actually stole like the. Now that I think about it, I mean, they stole the plans at that point. They did. So the Empire knew that it had escalated, but I guess Jin's message about the reactor core, because the plans didn't have that flaw included in them. It was just the plans of the Death Star. How did they know that there was even a flaw in it? Like, at what point was that provided at all? I can't remember.
This is the same problem with your previous argument about them only leaking its existence. Like, the fact that they don't know that the flaw exists doesn't matter. They don't want that to get into their hands in case there's a flaw, like something that wasn't intentional that they just happen to be able to exploit.
Well,
Like,
the
that's just
leak.
logical that you don't. That's like if somebody was like, "Oh, all of the source code for I don't know,
Apple.
some tech
Apple
app,
iPhones.
Yes.
yeah, like leaked onto the internet, and they were just like, well, they just have this. It's fine. It's probably there's nothing that they can exploit. It's going to be told. No, of course not.
That's
Absolutely
exactly
not.
how
I mean,
that's exactly how they exploit all those products. That's
there
why
are
Apple doesn't give out any of that information.
in the movie there were two leaks. The initial leak was the existence of it, and then they went to Scarif and actually got the plans. That was after Galen told Jin, go to Scarif, get the plans. And then the Empire realized, oh, they're on Scarif. Krennic was going to Scarif to delete the plans for the Death Star, and they made out with it. So the Empire knew at that moment that they had gotten the plans and things had escalated. They're like, okay, now not only do they know about it, now they have direct plans for it. So this is a significant leak at this point. But I'm trying to remember when Jin, maybe it was when she was
Actually, I
talking
don't
to the
even know that you would
council.
call that a leak, though, dude, because they fucking full scale war breakout
Broadcasted.
on that shit and bust in there, kill
They
all
stole the plans. Yeah,
the guards and everybody, and steal that shit. That ain't no leak anymore.
Oh my goodness! Remember in episode 4 when Leia brings up what was that race or species that are like a lot of these lost their lives to get these plans. Do you remember that? Or was that the second Death
it's a
Star?
trap. That dude.
No,
It's
no,
that species, right?
no. It's a different species that they
It
never
was
have
something
in the
that
movie.
Jordan was complaining that never showed up.
Yeah, they never show.
Oh.
They literally never show them at all in the movies. But Leia says that a lot of them lost their lives to get the plans, and I can't remember if it was for the first or the second Death Star. I think it was the first one.
I think
Was it Bothans?
that sounds right. It was some like weird furry thing.
It
that
was
you guys were
Bothan.
saying
Yeah,
were
I remembered it.
cool and shit.
It was Bothan, yeah. And she said a lot of Bothans, many Bothans died to bring us this information, and that it was before the Battle of Endor, so that was the second Death Star. Okay, and okay, never mind. We're still good.
Just kidding. Jordan
I
was
was-
like ready to be like, there was no damn Bothans.
There wasn't a single goddamn Bothan in the entire movie. I was gonna
Just
light 'em
start
up.
throwing shit everywhere.
Okay, so we're still barely clinging on to
We're golden.
canon.
So circling back to something that you were talking about a while ago, John, how they keep like repeating this shit and hammering it into your head with the Force.
Yeah.
I kind of felt the same way about how they keep like hammering home this point about hope.
Yeah, and like you think that's like an illusion / fan service of like A New Hope, like the start of the original trilogy.
100%.
But yeah, I mean I get it. Like yeah, when you have a rebellion against like some overwhelming force, of course you have to hope everything works out. Of course you need faith that what you're doing is going to matter. But like that's like that in any battle or times of war. But like they did kind of need that in there really well. But like it was overshadowed by how much Homeboy was talking about the Force. Like I couldn't deal with it. Every time he showed up on scene, every time.
Well, I mean, he's one with the Force. The Force is one with him.
Shut up, dude.
Yeah.
I got less talk about the Force when the movie was full of Jedis.
It's like hanging out with a monk, and it's like, dude, all you talk about is Nirvana and Serenity, bro. Give it a rest.
Seriously, like Jesus
But
Christ.
he's one with the Force, and the Force is one with him.
All right, so I'm going, guys.
I think he's
I'll
just,
see you later.
at a certain point, you're just gloating. Like we get it. The Force loves you. We get it.
So quick shout out to Mon Mothma, who shows up again in this movie out of nowhere, I feel like. And then did anybody else catch the allusion to the original cut of Star Wars when they're like leaving the rebel base and there's the rebel soldier or whatever up in that the lookout post
on Yavin 4? Yep.
Which is like it's a cut scene from Star Wars now. I'm pretty sure that scene doesn't exist in Episode 4 anymore. And they do it twice.
You are right. They do it twice. I swear it's in Episode 4 still. Like I remember that scene from Episode 4. That's the first time that they leave that Yavin, but
I could be wrong about that, but I don't know. I thought that specifically was a cool throwback to Episode 4. Because that's one of those ones that's like super subtle. It's not like, look at Luke Skywalker's lightsaber that I came up with out of my butt.
Yeah, I got you.
Oh, we need a ship to escape. Oh, the Millennium Falcon, guys, come on.
Yeah, it's like, oh yeah, that hunk of junk doesn't fly. Oh, wait, that's the Millennium Falcon.
When fan service goes wrong.
Dude, like the worst part is when we get to Episode 9, like I'm gonna boil over with how much fan service that they just instilled in that. It was so bad.
There's a fucking lot in this movie too, though.
Like, I understand, but
there's a lot.
It's not so prevalent to where I'm just annoyed with how they're trying to like appease to the fanboys. But I feel like it was a backlash from Episode 8 where they're just like, oh man, none of the fanboys like the movie. Let's just cram as much fan service as we possibly can. Get all the voice actors from all the Jedis and let's like have them just say like one line together. It was cringeworthy to me. It wasn't good.
So, as we've done for the last few movies, before we head out this week, what is your guys' new ranking of the Star Wars films that we've seen thus far?
I'll start. I also do want to bring up Steve Blum was a number of stormtroopers in this movie.
Cool.
That's cool. What you bastard.
Got him.
I love Steve Blum. Spike, bro. Anyway, New Order. Hey. Okay. It goes 5 for me. It goes 5, Rogue One, 4, 3, 1, 6, 7, 2.
Wait. Say that one more time.
5, Rogue One, 4, 3, 1, 6, 7, 2.
Okay. All right. That's a stupid list, but what do you got?
Wow.
At least I don't have Episode 1 first.
Wow,
you're right about that.
My feelings. Still, Episode 1. You know what? All the other movies don't matter. Episode 1's the best one. So, like, why are we even talking about it?
Episode 1. Episode 1. Episode 1. Episode 1. Episode 1. Episode 1.
Oh,
episode
you know
1.
what?
Episode
just
1.
Episode 1. You know what? If you're ever going to talk about Star Wars, if it's not about Episode 1, I don't want to hear.
Except for the next 3 weeks. We still
got. God damn it.
So really though, Episode 1.
It's Episode 1. Then, damn, I'm trying to remember now. Like it's hard with all these Star Wars movies that we're watching.
Yeah, I had to make notes and remember them because I wanted to keep my list consistent.
Yeah, it was 1, 5, 4, 2. No, not 2. Sorry, 3. Then 6 to what's the number of the new trilogy?
7.
7.
7 is at the very bottom. So with that list, Rogue One probably comes up to third spot.
Ooh, okay.
Ooh.
Yeah. Like Rogue One, like I liked Rogue One because it first of all is aesthetically pleasing. A lot of the battles were really good. It was more realistic. And the fact like everybody going for this very secretive information is like going to die. So there was a lot of like when I first watched the movie, when I fell asleep, I didn't expect to wake up to everybody straight up dying. So that was jarring. So I just really
Surprise,
like,
bitch.
yeah, I really like the movie, and then like the Vader scenes, probably some of the best. Actually, no, scratch that. The best Vader scenes out of all of the movies that I have seen. Period.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, so yeah, it's definitely a third spot. Like 5 just barely is above it in my opinion.
I will say, for me, the most fun part about doing this ranking each week is the opposite of you, Jordan. Like, I like thinking about it in the moment and then making a new
Mm-hmm.
list each week. And I'll be interested, like, maybe I'll go back and listen to each one and see where, how my list changed week to week, but probably not. So let's see. If I had to rank them today, 4 is still number 1 for sure.
Really?
Then 5, then 1, then Rogue One, 3, 6 to 7.
I mean, I think
At
it's a good
least the
list.
back of our list, are the same, dude.
Yeah, they
6
are.
to 7.
Well,
That's hilarious.
Those
Yeah,
3, I would say, are unquestionably the worst of them all.
They really are, and like,
it's sad
it's
that
more of the
6 is a great. It's such an amazing movie, but it keeps ending up at the back of these lists.
That's
because
because it's not an amazing
it's
movie.
it just falls super flat. Like, yeah, it starts off okay with like all this mystery about like what's actually going on, why they're in Jabba the Hutt's lair, like what they're doing, and like what's happened in between this interim time between 5 and 6. But it's just
I think y'all just
it
don't like
hits
Ewoks.
no. Like
I
first of all,
actually like
yes,
the Ewoks,
you are
so you're
correct.
wrong about that for me.
I hate the Ewoks. But it's just like it hits a lull in the middle of the movie and it
Yeah.
drags on, and then it has the most what's the word I'm looking for? Like just fantastical. Like it feels like instead of being in a Star Wars movie, it should be in a Dungeons and Dragons movie where like these little like trolls are taking out these big gargantuan giants by themselves. Like it just doesn't make sense. Like I can't wrap my
Yeah,
head around it.
that, and it's like it's repetitive. Like they're just going back to the Death Star again. That's stupid and doesn't
Yeah.
even make sense. And like it's the most forgettable of the original trilogy, for sure.
It really is. Like the only reason you remember it is because of the Ewoks. Like in my opinion, the Ewoks and the fact that Boba Fett gets smacked in the jetpack and then gets thrown in the Sarlacc pit.
I think the things that 6 does wrong really stick with you more than what it does right, because that opening scene on Tatooine in Jabba's palace is so great. That's some of the best Star Wars right there. But then it has John, like you said, I think it has a real big lull in the middle. You're right. I don't like almost any of the Battle of Endor at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then it ends, I believe, really well. I love the
Yeah.
ending fight. I thought that's great. But yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
but
I think there's just a lot more that it does wrong than what it does right. Like what it does
Yeah.
right is really good, but I just don't think that it outweighs what it does wrong.
Exactly, and like no offense, like you could put anything in like between of the start of the movie where they're like getting Han back and the end of the movie, which is good, like the battle between Darth Vader and finally him like bringing balance to the Force. I put up quotations marks. Um, but like that's what I mean. You could put anything in the middle of that, and you'd still get those same two great scenes, and like it could still not make sense. That's what I mean. That's my problem with it. It
Yeah.
doesn't flow really well.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I think that'll do it for us this week. But before we go, if you enjoyed this and you're on YouTube, be sure to drop us a like and subscribe. If you're enjoying us on your favorite podcast service, drop us a review. It really helps us out. Don't forget to come chat with us in the Discord. And as always, have fun out there, guys.